Law or tradition? The Sabbath Showdown. Tonight we bring you a powerful debate between two esteemed voices in Christianity. On one side, Pastor Paul, a Seventh-day Adventist defender of the Sabbath commandment. On the other, Pastor Harry, a Protestant minister standing for Sunday worship. The question: did Jesus abolish the Sabbath when he fulfilled the Mosaic law? Let the debate begin. Harry, Protestant pastor. Pastor Paul, we all know Christ fulfilled the law at the cross. Colossians 2:14 says the handwriting of ordinances was nailed to the cross. That includes the Sabbath, which is part of the old Jewish system. We now worship on Sunday because of the resurrection. Paul, SDA pastor, firm and passionate. Pastor Harry, you've just committed a tragic confusion of law. The handwriting of ordinances is not the Ten Commandments. It refers to the Mosaic law, written by Moses in a book placed beside the ark, Deuteronomy 31:26. The Ten Commandments were written by the finger of God on stone and placed inside the ark, Exodus 31:18, Exodus 40:20. Do not dare mix man's traditions with God's eternal words. Harry, but doesn't Galatians 3:19 say the law was added because of transgressions until Christ came? Isn't that the whole law, including the Sabbath? Paul, exactly. That law was added because sin already existed. What defines sin? Sin is the transgression of the law. 1 John chapter 3-4. The Ten Commandments already existed before Moses. Cain sinned before the Mosaic law even existed, Genesis chapter 4:7. The law added later was ceremonial, pointing to Christ, shadows, Colossians 2:17. But the Sabbath was created at creation, Genesis 2:2-3, long before sin entered Israel. Harry, but we're under grace, not under the law. Paul, voice rising with righteous indignation. Indeed, we are under grace, not under the condemnation of the law. But grace doesn't give us a license to sin. Do we then make void the law through faith? God forbid. Yea, we establish the law. Romans 3:31. Tell me, Pastor Harry, is it now okay to murder, steal, commit adultery because we're under grace? Why is the fourth commandment the only one preachers try to erase? Harry, because Jesus rose on Sunday. The early church met on Sunday. Paul, passionately. Show me one verse where God changed the Sabbath from the seventh day to the first. Acts 13:42-44, Acts 16:13, Acts 17:2. All show Paul and the disciples worshipping on the Sabbath. Jesus said in Matthew 24:20 to pray your flight not be on the Sabbath, a prophecy 40 years after his resurrection. Why would he say that if the Sabbath was abolished? Harry, but didn't Paul say we're not judged in Sabbaths? Colossians 2:16. Paul, that verse refers to the Mosaic Sabbaths, the annual feast days, Leviticus 23:24-37, which were ceremonial and part of the law that pointed to Christ. The weekly Sabbath was established in Eden and is part of the moral law, not the ceremonial shadow. If you can't see the difference, then let's remove all 10 commandments and descend into chaos. Harry, trying to regain control. But isn't Sunday worship a beautiful symbol of the resurrection? Paul, with calm clarity. A symbol not commanded by God is a tradition. Jesus warned in Mark 7:7, in vain they worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. No matter how beautiful it seems, if it contradicts God's word, it is rebellion disguised as reverence. Moderator, let's pause right there. Pastor Paul, are you saying Sunday worship is unbiblical? Paul, let me be clear. Nowhere in the entire Bible does God bless or command Sunday worship. Not once. not in Genesis, not in Revelation. Yet he sanctified the seventh day, Exodus 28:11, and called it his holy day, Isaiah 58:13. If Jesus is your Lord, obey his command, not man's tradition. The audience is silent. Tension fills the room. Harry stares blankly, unable to quote one verse commanding Sunday worship. Paul, concluding, the Sabbath is not Jewish. It is God's signature in creation, his memorial of rest, his seal in the Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments are eternal, written by God himself. The Mosaic law was temporary. And Sunday? It's a Roman invention born of compromise. I choose the voice of the Creator over the traditions of men, to be continued. Law or tradition? The Sabbath Showdown, Episode 2. Episodes 2 to 7 remain unchanged here for brevity. Special feature: Sabbath sealed, the final test of loyalty. Across the world, two groups are forming. The line is being drawn. In the heart of the law lies the test of loyalty. Paul. God's seal is not a brand. It is not hidden. It is his Sabbath, found in his law, bearing his name, title, and territory. Exodus 20:8-11. Paul. Before the end, Revelation 7 says, God's people are sealed in their foreheads. This means conviction, understanding, and obedience. They keep God's commandments when the world follows tradition. Harry, voice trembling. And the others? Paul. Revelation 13 shows they receive the mark of the beast, not a chip, but a counterfeit sign of worship. Sunday laws enforced in opposition to God's Sabbath. What makes the Sabbath the final test? Paul. Because it is the only commandment that deals with worship and time. It reveals who you acknowledge as Creator. And in the last days, when the test is enforced, your decision shows who you truly serve. Paul, voice rising. Will you be sealed by God's authority or marked by man's counterfeit? The test is coming. The time is now. Truth has been revealed. The choice is yours. Stand, be sealed. Live for the Lord of the Sabbath.